Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about our 1998 C1500 pickup, and it's right there. But we just picked up this Suburban, 4-wheel drive, Z71, all the good stuff, and that's made me come up with a plan for our pickup here. We're going to pretty much strip this thing, use as a donor for our Suburban over here. I've been back and forth on what to do with this thing, and then we got a steal on this Suburban. So things just kind of fell into place. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so overall this thing has a tiny bit of motor tick to it, maybe motor knock. We'll have to look a little more into it. But one of the bigger issues, somebody has hacked up the fenders to fit bigger tires at some point. We do have later model GMT 800 wheels on it, 17s. It's pretty dirty, so we'll probably give it a good pressure washing, clean it all up. We got these nasty aftermarket taillights in here. So we'll be swapping a lot of parts over from our C1500 pickup. We have a tow hitch on here. Some stuff falling off. Supposedly those lights are wired into the backup reverse lights. So we'll have to see about that. We're probably going to take a lot of that stuff off of here. Just kind of make this clean. We got a couple little dings. Nothing too bad really. This is probably the worst of it through here on the fender well. But we do have fender flares that'll cover over that. We got a little mark here and a couple door dings just sporadically throughout it. Nothing too crazy. Under here we have the same L31 5.7. So it'll be a pretty easy swap if we get to it. And this does happen to need a motor. We are definitely going to be fixing some of this wiring up. That's a mess. I don't like that at all. But what is pretty cool, we have a little tool storage over here. Somebody had some spark plugs, a belt. We'll not be using any of that, but the little storage is pretty cool. I don't think I've really seen many of those in vehicles. You know, all the GMT 400s hypothetically should have something similar, but I've never really seen one actually intact still in a vehicle. So we're going to give this thing a good cleaning and see what we're really working with, you know, because it's kind of hard to tell with all the grease and grime, you know, how clean something actually can be. So we'll do that, we'll assess it again and see what's going on. And here we have the usual, you know, the upholstery's torn up just like all of them. Luckily, they do sell the cushions for like 50 bucks, and you can get a set of the front seat upholstery for about $250. So that's probably going to be the route we end up going, although we do have a few options with this. Our dash is pretty well intact. We have a little tiny crack right there, but that's really about it. So I might get one of those cover lay, you know, that you glue down over them. Go ahead and do that while this dash is still intact. That way we don't really have to worry about it in the future. Somebody scribbled a bunch of crap on the airbag. Steering wheel's a little torn up, but luckily we have a whole secondary steering wheel, airbag, all that. All right, so it's day 2 and I got a little bit carried away. I ended up losing some GoPro footage, but we ended up swapping our front clip over from the pickup to the Suburban, vice versa. We swapped the headlights over, the tail lights. We still have a couple things left to swap over, but mostly we just gave this thing a good cleaning, swapped a couple parts, and we'll check that out right now. Also, we did our battery cables because those are kind of essential. We fixed our wiring ground over here. So we got that going on, but our battery is pretty well dead, so we are charging that right now. So looking into the motor a little bit, we are down on compression cylinder number 4. We have a cylinder 4 misfire. So I think we're swapping the stroker motor into here. And we did end up swapping over the headlights to do the black housings. And this is just a temporary grill, so don't worry about that. We're actually going to put the GMC one on here. But we went ahead and swapped over our front clip. That way we have that much less to bodywork. We put our fender flares on. We put these 24s on here. Don't know if they're staying or not, but I do like the way they look on here in the meantime. As far as swapping these fenders over, you have a couple of them down here. If you can see these behind our fender flares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this wheel well. You have 2 in the back of the fender back here inside the door opening. You have 2 up here at the hinge. 1 right here in front. Then you have 2 down here on the inside. If you have one of these boxes, then you have the nut down here that you have to get to. All those are 13 millimeters, and then you have to obviously pop your little plugs out. You have your hood hinge back here, and then there's 4 bolts for our computer, 2 here and 2 back here. Once you pop the computer out, you have 4 more 13 millimeters right here on this bracket underneath the computer. And from there, you're pretty much good to go. The passenger side is very similar, but a lot easier because you don't have the computer over there. You just pop the air box off, unplug your antenna, and then you have the same bolts basically. Also, there is one down here, right in that gap behind the front bumper. If you take the grill out, you have easy access to it. And as usual, you have 1 more bolt down here on the bottom leg of the fender. So this is day 2. We played with it a little bit yesterday, got a few things done to it. I ordered some parts for it, and here's kind of where we're at. So we pretty much just did a vacuum in here. Haven't tried to scrub anything, clean it all that much just yet, just vacuuming. I ended up ordering seat covers for this last night because they went on sale. So we got the front 2 seats for about 120 bucks. And I went ahead and threw some extra rubber floor mats in here just because, you know, Georgia clay tend to get dirty pretty quickly in here, just getting in and out. We do have heated seats I'm going to be putting in these front 2 seats. But actually, I might end up putting them in front and middle row as well. And as you can see, we have about 294,000 miles on this thing. As you can see, it's 4-wheel drive, has the CD player option. Cheap dual head unit. We'll probably be ripping some of that out. Putting a nice stereo system in here. I did end up putting our red LED taillights in here. The 3rd brake light is on order. I still have to swap the back bumper over, but we did remove the little LED pod lights from down here. We do have a few parts that'll be swapped over. Probably go ahead and do our quad exhaust on here from the Camaro. Since we have those extra, we do have our front lower valance for the front bumper. But then I found the actual worst damage on here, our tailgate. It looks like somebody backed into a pole or something with the tailgate down, as you see a giant dip right in here. And the whole tailgate is actually bowed outward right in here. So pushing this down up top would definitely bow that out. So that's our big damage on here. So we're probably going to end up picking up a new tailgate for this thing. But overall, vacuuming did a decent little job on here. Our seat is still torn up. We got those coming, like I said earlier. But we got a lot to work with here. Definitely has some potential. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, basically, I sold the Duramax. We sold the S10. The S10 just kind of happened. One of our neighbors is actually I'm not sure the correct termage for it, but basically he does mud truck racing. So if you've ever heard JB Waits before, he's the one that bought the S10. He was gonna LS swap it, but he hit the same boat I was in. it was kind of too nice to really tear up like that. You know, it was a pretty solid, clean truck. It needed some TLC, but he's been driving that thing all around. And he loves it. So more power to him. I just couldn't really connect with that truck. So we got rid of those two, and that left me with a 98 C1500 two-wheel drive extended cab. I was really back and forth on what to do with it. I liked the truck, but something just didn't click completely. And then we found the Suburban. It just kind of came about. And four-wheel drive, Z71, same year just about, so a lot of the parts interchange. But we can get a lot more use out of a Suburban than a pickup truck. We can put, you know, our large dogs in the back, have our daughter in the back seat. We can haul plywood back here, whatever we need to do. So this thing definitely has a purpose for us. Makes a lot more sense than any of those trucks did. And also we kind of had a void in our large SUV four-wheel drive space. So in a way, it kind of offsets our Hellcat Red Eye. This is the polar opposite. We can kind of use it, beat on it a little bit, not worry about it too much. Granted, we're still going to paint it, do a couple things to it. But inside, we're mostly just cleaning it. We aren't doing custom interior in this or anything too crazy. Mostly just clean up what's here and going from there. What a lot of people don't know is I've actually been a really big fan of the OBS Suburbans since I was like 10. So it's pretty cool to finally get one after like 20 years. It does run, drive, and everything. It definitely has a misfire on cylinder 4. So that's kind of the thing, and it could really use a paint job. You know, 90s GMs, the paint flakes off of them, peels off of them, the whites. It's a thing, but we'll get through it. We'll figure something out to do with it. So yeah, in a weird way, we are swapping out 3 trucks for this OBS Suburban. And also, it would be pretty cool when we haul the Camaro to the track and whatnot. Car shows, we can haul it with the same generation Suburban to show up in. Could be pretty cool. Put tools in the back, have the full setup, be good to go. So that's all for today's video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along if you want to see what's happening next.